Good morning, everyone. It's November the 10th, 2023, the day before Remembrance Day, November the 11th. And I wish to also express a great gratitude to all our vets for their service to our country. So I wish to acknowledge that. I also want to express that how I feel about towards my country, and I also want to bring this forward with a very shameful act of cowardness that I witnessed. Well, we saw on TV, we all saw it there last night in Hindenburg, where one of the poppy boxes was stolen. It was caught on camera. Young man, most likely looking for drugs, quick drug money. But what a coward. I would like to see him take up a gun. Unfortunately, our addicts don't want to take up the gun and defend our country. They just want to bring our country down by sticking their arm full of needles and whatnot. So I find this very shameful act and very disrespectful to our vets who have fought for our country and for our freedom that we have today. And unfortunately, the freedom that they fought for in yesteryears is not what we're getting today, because our privileges are being taken away from us, because all these people on drugs and that are definitely making us having to make more rules. So where's our freedom? They're a big part of the problem. This opioid addiction crisis is just terrible. This is what our vets did not fight for or expected to see in the future, that they fought for our country for. So I really have a great deal of respect for them. And I also have I want to read another of my stories out of our stories and their stories. And I've read one in one of the previous videos on Mother's Bad Hair Day. And this was the seniors who were writing stories about what they remember. But this was, I believe, a really appropriate short story, although it's a little bit of a long short story. But I think it's worth putting up today with all the conflicts right now that we have around the world. Now, in 2015, Canada celebrated its 50th year for our new flag. And that's what this story is named. I've named it Canada's New Flag. This year in Canada, in February 2015, we celebrated our flag's 50th anniversary. Do you sometimes wonder or remember where you were during historical events? I remember where I was in 1964, 1965, when Canada got its new flag. In 1964, at 11 years old, I was hearing from the teachers and adults around me how Prime Minister Pearson had decided that Canada would get a new flag of its own. There was a lot of excitement as well as controversy over this. Some people thought it was a really good idea, while others were of the opinion that we shouldn't change anything that already worked. The veterans are very opinionated, as they had fought for our freedom under the Union Jack and left those behind who had died in battle. They thought Pearson had somehow lost his mind and was a traitor for wanting to change the flag. As for me, growing up under the Union Jack and having a very clear sense of what the veterans had fought for, I believed that the Union Jack represented a sense of living my life in peace and security, and a new flag made me think I would lose this somehow. The Union Jack gave me, as well, a sense of who I was. It was as if the country was suddenly having an identity crisis, leaving people treading water without a life jacket. The Union Jack was a lifeboat that just vanished into thin air. The Union Jack was also steadfast, never wavering in its commitment to us. Why did we suddenly want to kill the flag? Did this horrendous change mean I was going to drown? It was hard to comprehend any change at that age. Then several new designs were shown to the public. This too caused considerable debate around dining tables at supper. Which design would represent Canada best? I remember hearing that it started some bets going underneath the table as to which flag would get chosen. Of course, the women either didn't know about this or pretended they didn't hear it from the men. Finally, we heard from the Prime Minister that the flag had been chosen. It was announced that the flag would have a single red maple leaf in the center, against a white background with red at each end. It had been decided that the new flag would be raised in February 1965. The day finally arrived. I had just turned 12 years old the month before. It was a cold, crisp morning as I walked the 5 blocks to school. I looked up to see the familiar Union Jack flying on the building, high on its pole, majestically displaying its colors over our beloved country. As I passed by it every day on the way to school, it gave me that sense of belonging. I had both a country and a home, and under the flag I was safe, secure, peaceful, and happy. How would I feel on the way home with no Union Jack? I felt a great sense of impending loss, with my heart sinking and a knot forming in the pit of my stomach. I realized at that moment something huge and forever lasting was about to happen, as Canada was changing and remolding itself into a new future. Yet still not sure what that was going to mean or even look like. It was the first time in my short life that I felt so lost and helpless, like the adults would say, a fish out of water. I finally arrived at the school, with even my feet feeling heavy with every step I took. The clock ticked on slowly as the whole school waited in what seemed like an eerie silence. The kids who normally acted out were glued to their desks. The other children were silent, not even asking questions from the teacher, as the teacher was the only one doing the talking that morning. That morning our teacher had the best behaved class in the school. Finally, during the mid-morning, we got the call over the speakers for us all to get on our winter wear. Then we filed outside into the schoolyard and gathered around the flagpole. The principal announced that this was a day to remember in Canadian history. Several veterans, wearing their uniforms and proudly displaying their war medals, stood in silence beside the flagpole. The Union Jack showed its colors in the wind, as it staunchly did every day, watching over us in the schoolyard. As the Union Jack was lowered for the last time, we all sang God Save the Queen. The veterans were standing at attention and saluting. In my mind, I hoped this flag would stop at half-mast to show that someone important had just died. This wasn't really happening as it went past half-mast. I looked over to the veterans to see some tears rolling down their cheeks by the time the Union Jack was taken off the pole for the last time. I felt the tears in my eyes. Others were tearing up too. At that moment, I could have just run up and grabbed the flag to drape it around me and scream to the world that it wasn't dead, but I was frozen to the spot. Then they started to raise a new maple leaf flag, and we all started singing O Canada. Looking again at the veterans as they saluted the new flag, their lips quivering, faces red, and eyes swollen with tears, you would see them struggling to hold their emotions back. As my grandfather once told me, when I asked him, why do soldiers stand so straight and never smile, his answer was, they stand at attention and keep a stiff upper lip and show no emotion. On this day, it was certainly an exception to the rule. This was such an emotional moment I will never forget. For the next 5 years, I was to look up at the new maple leaf flag with mixed emotions. In 1970, something changed. I was fortunate enough to take a school tour for the month of August to Holland, Belgium, France, England, and Scotland. I was 17 years old. The teachers instructed us to put the maple leaf flag and stickers all over our luggage and purses, as it would identify us as Canadians, and Canadians were warmly welcomed in Europe. This I came to understand, as in Holland, my purse strap broke, and when I went to get it fixed and pay the man, he refused payment. He went on to say that when he was in Canada, his glasses were broken and he got them fixed for nothing. He explained that the maple leaf on my purse brought him back to a time when Canadians were so kind to him, and he wanted to repay that kindness. Suddenly I was looking at the flag in a whole different way. It was clearly defining me as a Canadian, not part of the British colonies. Canada was flying solo. It took a small act of kindness to make me realize this. As I traveled through Europe, people would come up to me, recognizing the maple leaf, talk about all the things Canadian soldiers had done, especially during World War II. What a living experience for me. Now, being Canadian, to experience a new kind of pride, as people were also envious of the fact that I was Canadian. Yet I still felt some guilt over the Union Jack. It was when I got off the ferry, after crossing the English Channel, that I got a new perspective on the Union Jack. Looking up to the white cliffs of Dover, there was my old friend, the Union Jack, waving at me in the wind. It was at that moment I realized I hadn't lost anything, but gained a wealth of new respect and pride. The identity crisis was over. The Union Jack represented to me that British was a home away from home due to my British part of history. The Canadian flag represented a new multicultural country, which included my Aboriginal background as well, and a new course to follow. That being said, the Union Jack also represented a time in history when it often said Britain rules, as Britain was one of the countries who had colonies all over the world, including Canada. Colonization had its impact on Aboriginal people of this country, as well as around the world. We still feel the impact of this today. Thankfully, over the last 50 years, attitudes have been changing for the better. Although looking at the world today, better could be a lot faster. However, the world is waking up around us. We can no longer hibernate from the truth. It looks us in the face every day. For example, every time I saw one of our soldiers from Afghanistan being loaded on and off the plane with the maple leaf draped casket and our flag being waved by hundreds down the highway of heroes, it brought me back to that time of World War II, when the caskets of the returning soldiers would have been draped in the Union Jack. Today, with terrorism around the world and the recent terrorist attack on Parliament Hill in Ottawa in 2014, where 2 of our soldiers were killed on Canadian soil, we saw how our maple leaf flag united our country in grief and in sorrow. It lifted our spirits with solidarity and showed worldwide, in a unified way, how Canadians and our great diversity stand proudly under our country's flag. This flag defines us as a people under one flag and country. This goes for every country under their flag that they fly. Each country is different, but we all are a part of the human race. History may record this differently, but being here in this time and living this experience firsthand has shown me how humanity adapts to change. The Union Jack is still a very old and dear friend, but our maple leaf flag in its 50 years has shown me it has weathered the test of time and truly is worthy of winning my love and respect in a new and lasting relationship. Now, after 50 years, we have a multicultural, multiracial, and multi-faith-based country where everyone is made to feel welcome under the maple leaf flag. What an accomplishment in such a short time, although admittedly there is still a lot of work to be done. When we got our new flag in 1965, it was just in time for Canada's 150th birthday in 1967. Now we are to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday in 2017. What will the next 50 years bring? What will my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren see and experience in their lifetime? Whatever accomplishments, joys, and sorrows we have to face, we'll do it together under our red and white Canadian maple leaf. Oh, Canada, we do stand on guard for thee. So this is the story that I wrote, and I know it's getting lengthy, and I think it's worth it, because I do respect our vets. And again, I'm going to show you the book, and of course I have the other 2 here because I've written a number of stories in them, and I have the other 2 books right here, as I showed you in a previous video. But it was definitely worth what's going on, and certainly with what the troubles we're having right now in 2003 between Ukraine and what's going on with the Gaza and certainly Israel right now, and the stepped up hate and racism issues that we have at the moment. So this, I thought, would be a good reminder of who we are, or supposed to be, as Canadians under one flag. But what I see with all these people who are dealing the drugs, that we're under another type of war right now. It's a war on drugs, a war with the opioids. So, and it's not just Canada. We're all in this war together around the world. But what I see from these people who are doing the drugs, and this is what I feel, and this is my opinion, that all they do is they leave a legacy of carnage with no medals or statues or purple hearts to display, to show, but will only be remembered for your cowardness to humanity that brought on death and suffering to fall in your deadly trap of drugs, homelessness, and despair. You are not a hero, but a plague that has spread around the world. A new kind of war for all true heroes will stand up to and stamp out so that the sunshine once more shines brightly on humanity. This is the other part of the war that's getting even worse. And we have too many wars. We've got to come back and work together and be one. And the only way we can do that is, I'll repeat an expression from my grandfather. You don't have to wear a uniform to be a soldier and fight for our country. And even though I wore a uniform as a security guard for a while, I still am part of my country. I am proud of my country. I will always be proud of them, and I will never, ever let these hoodlums get the best out of this country. I will fight to try and make sure that this country is free for all people of all colors, all races, all nationalities, all languages, to be able to come to Canada and speak and have the freedom that we enjoy and hopefully they will. And what I'm hoping is that they will come forward, and I'm seeing some good results where there are a lot of good people coming forward, trying to help us out as Canadians and want to be what we are, Canadian. So I don't want this video to get too long, but again, please be safe, be aware of your surroundings, take care, and have a nice day, and have a good, really good Remembrance Day tomorrow. And again, thank you to the vets for fighting. And it hasn't been lost in our generation after the post-war and the baby boomers. And this is what I say. We have our Poppy here, and this is what we're fighting for. They gave their sacrifice. So please, don't forget what the Poppy meant as well. And again, take care and have a nice day. Bye-bye.